So I was aware of this one being made, but I'm always a little skeptical. It's got to be really good for me to be involved with something. I have some ideas that maybe could make it better. Well, something positive, something that has vision and can explain why we're so divisive right now.
At 76, Richard Gere has distanced himself from Hollywood's glamorous lifestyle, choosing a quiet life in Madrid with his family. What made this iconic sex symbol step away from fame?
There's no beginning. There's no beginning and no end. It doesn't make any sense. I'm sorry, but it's ridiculous. The mind itself is so vast, there's no need for a creator.
Despite losing his allure and being banned from a major film market, Gere discovered something that Hollywood couldn't offer: peace and purpose. His journey, through health struggles and raising children into his 70s, highlights sacrifice, resilience, and the true meaning of legacy. Walking away from fame. Richard Gere's story is unusual for a Hollywood icon because, unlike many stars who chase the limelight endlessly, he ultimately chose to walk away from it all. At the height of his fame, when he could have secured lucrative franchises and red carpet adoration, Gere made a conscious decision to reject that life. This choice wasn't born of scandal or decline. It was fueled by deeply held beliefs and a spiritual calling that eventually demanded a different kind of existence. Instead of chasing blockbuster roles, he prioritized peace, principle, and family over the trappings of celebrity. This self-imposed exile meant turning his back on an industry that had once celebrated him as the embodiment of charm and desire. While other actors eagerly bowed to studio demands, pursuing franchise after franchise, Gere walked a quieter, lonelier path, one that the Hollywood machine did not welcome. The cost was severe. Major studios stopped calling. His projects dried up, and he was effectively erased from the industry's radar. Even worse, an entire country banned his films simply because of his outspokenness on political issues. But Gere's retreat was no accident or surrender. It was a deliberate choice informed by decades of spiritual searching and activism. He accepted that this path would mean professional exile. And yet, he chose it anyway. His priorities shifted. No longer about fame or fortune, his life became about something more intangible, and, to him, infinitely more valuable. It was a powerful and lonely act of defiance. The contrast between the man who once lit up screens and red carpets and the man living anonymously in Madrid with his young family is stark. Yet, beneath this shift lies a profound transformation, one that rewrites the story of what it means to be successful, fulfilled, and at peace. The image of a silver-haired Gere, away from lights and cameras, challenges the very definition of Hollywood stardom. What intrigues so many is not just that he walked away, but why? What drove him to trade adoration and wealth for quiet exile? Was it disenchantment, a spiritual awakening, or something else entirely? The answers lie deeper within his life story, shaped by restless searching and a unique blend of artistry and activism. This decision to embrace exile sets the stage for understanding how Richard Gere's journey unfolded, not as a tale of fall and failure, but as one of courage and conviction. It hints at sacrifices made quietly, with a clarity few can fathom from the outside looking in, and it plants a seed of hope that fulfillment can exist beyond the glare of fame. Before exploring how this shift shaped the later chapters of his life, it's important to look back at the roots of his restlessness. A young man in a tiny New York town wrestling with the big questions of existence. Early life and restlessness. Richard Tiffany Gere was born into a seemingly ordinary world on August 31st, 1949 in Philadelphia, but his early development occurred in Syracuse, New York, which was home to only 5,000 residents and one theater that had the name Hollywood. The small-town atmosphere of his hometown made Gere different from others in the community because he did not conform to typical social patterns. The restlessness that he exhibited throughout his life started during his childhood because his active mind constantly searched for knowledge beyond his immediate surroundings. The family environment of his home life developed two distinct abilities in him which included empathy towards others and self-control. His father, Homer Gere, worked as an insurance agent who became known in his community for his strong ethical standards and his commitment to helping other people, which he developed through his lifetime dedication to Methodist faith. Their home environment provided Richard with a nurturing system because his mother, Doris Ann, created a loving space which included musical elements that Richard could use to develop his artistic talents. Music formed the foundation of his early life because he played 3 musical instruments, which included piano and guitar and trumpet, while he achieved success in gymnastics through his exceptional ability to control his body and mind. Gere demonstrated musical ability through trumpet solos while showing excellence in gymnastic vaults during his high school years. He received a gymnastics scholarship to the University of Massachusetts Amherst after his 1967 graduation, but he chose to study philosophy because he wanted to explore the fundamental questions of existence. He carried Jean-Paul Sartre's Ideas, Being and Nothingness because he pursued his studies through research about existence and reality and purpose. His early 20s found him exploring diverse philosophical ideas and eventually discovering Buddhism. He began his Zen practice through Kyozan Joshu Sasaki by spending months in solitary meditation to achieve mind silence. The dedication he showed through his work showed that he had deep inner restlessness, which he could not fulfill through regular achievements or through academic work. Richard believed that people needed to combine spiritual exploration with their intellectual research activities. The college experience brought Gere 2 years of study, which ended his studies because he found the environment to be restrictive. Richard left home because his father would not understand his choice to make a new life by following his passion for social change. In 1969, he moved to New York City to pursue his acting career, which he started with theater work by taking minor roles and living in his car. His career breakthrough happened in 1973 when he performed in the original London stage production of Grease, which showed a rougher version of the story than the cleaned-up movie version. He portrayed Danny Zuko in the role, which received critic recognition because of his natural performance style that showed his actual self. A trip to Nepal introduced him to Tibetan monks and the Dalai Lama, who became his life-altering experience. Gere examined Tibetan Buddhism through its Tibetan teachings, which he practiced as an authentic faith that he took more seriously than current celebrity fashion. The boy who grew up in Syracuse and came from Mayflower ancestors had discovered his true self through heritage and language that matched his inner search for peace. The inner tranquility that started to build inside him actually created a situation where his upcoming career success would force him to make a choice between being a public figure and practicing his religious beliefs. That tension would become the crucible in which Richard Gere's unique story was forged, stretching from the glimmering heights of Hollywood to the quiet corners of remote monasteries, shaping a journey few could imagine. Rise to stardom. The late 1970s marked the beginning of Richard Gere's rapid ascent to Hollywood stardom, a period that both celebrated and complicated his burgeoning personal philosophy. His early film appearances, including a memorable, if brief, role as a substance-addicted pimp in Looking for Mr. Goodbar in 1977, were enough to etch him into the public's memory. Critics took notice of his performances, paving the way for more substantial roles. Films like Terrence Malick's Days of Heaven in 1978 garnered critical acclaim, spotlighting Gere's nuanced talent. But it was American Gigolo in 1980 that catapulted him into the realm of global sex symbols. Playing Julian Kay, a high-end escort immersed in the glitz and danger of Los Angeles, Gere's electrifying presence made him impossible to ignore. Overnight, his name became a marquee sensation, and the world began to see him not just as an actor, but as an icon of charm and desire. The 1980s cemented his status thanks to roles in hits like An Officer and a Gentleman opposite Deborah Winger. His portrayal of Zach Mayo, a troubled Navy recruit finding redemption, was widely praised. The film grossed nearly $130 million, earned 2 Academy Awards, and won him his first Golden Globe nomination. For a time, it seemed nothing could stop his rise. Yet, beneath the glamour, Gere maintained a private battle with the contradictions of fame and his Buddhist beliefs. Meditation and spirituality grounded him daily, fostering detachment from the ego-driven culture around him. The irony of embodying alluring, desire-filled characters while seeking emotional neutrality through Buddhism formed a complex duality in his public and private lives. Not all his projects found success, though. Films like The Cotton Club, King David, and No Mercy received mixed reviews and faltered commercially. Critics questioned whether he was truly a gifted actor or simply a pretty face, benefiting from charisma. Such criticisms conflicted with his deepening commitment to spiritual practice and activism, creating tension between his artistic ambitions and personal values. By the late 1980s, Gere was no longer just acting for roles. He was wrestling with his platform. His growing interest in Tibetan Buddhism led him to openly advocate for Tibet's freedom, something that would increasingly isolate him from Hollywood's mainstream pathways. His public alignment with causes over box office success foreshadowed the sacrifices he would soon make. The stage was set for a profound reckoning between the bright lights of Hollywood and the quiet call of conscience. Gere's rise to fame was spectacular, but the costs of maintaining integrity in an industry driven by profit and silence were about to become painfully clear. The path from youthful searching to international stardom had been swift, but the most challenging chapters, where fame and principle collided, were just ahead. His next steps would define not only his career, but his very identity. The journey from restless youth to global star reveals much about the man behind the image, but it is his choice to speak out and face backlash that truly reshaped his story. Speaking out and backlash. Richard Gere became more famous, which created a burden because he devoted himself to Tibetan Buddhism and worked to secure freedom for Tibet through his activism. Gere dedicated himself to his activist work about Tibet because he considered the situation to be serious. The Dalai Lama's direct request created an urgent personal advocacy situation for Gere. Gere had to choose between two options, which required him to either stay silent or give up everything he owned. Gere started his public campaign against human rights abuses in Tibet during 1987 after he began his fight against Chinese human rights abuses. The Hollywood studios, which had invested heavily in the Chinese movie market, saw his activism as a threat to their business interests. The industry rejected him after his successful movies, which had brought in large crowds to theaters. The market which spoke about him used his name, but ended up treating him like a dangerous product because all project opportunities vanished. The tipping point happened when Gere used his Oscar presentation to accuse China of violating Tibetan human rights during the 1993 Academy Awards. The courageous act led to instant negative reactions from people. The Academy permanently banned him from all future Oscar presentations, while film studios stopped production on his projects without any public statement about it. The industry's message was unmistakable. Speaking truth came at the cost of career opportunity. The broader effects of the situation showed even more intense impacts. The Chinese government reacted to the situation by imposing a complete travel ban on Gere. His films faced complete removal from cinemas, while his blacklist status prevented him from entering the world's fastest-growing film market. Hollywood studios chose to stop all connections with Gere because they needed to maintain their financial relationship with China. People reacted to Gere's refusal to back down from his position in different ways. Some people respected his dedication to his beliefs, while they considered him an exceptional person who would rather lose his public profile than maintain his fame. Some people considered his activism to be impractical, while others thought it would create problems for him. And they expressed doubt about his public comments, harming his future chances. The debate about commerce never interested Gere because his focus remained on matters of conscience. The impact on his professional life became evident through his actions. The actor who used to be a top box office star lost his main roles, which led to his exclusion from a system that prioritized financial gain instead of ethical standards. The actor lost all studio offers, which led him to find solace in independent films. Gere maintained his refusal to apologize under increasing pressure because he believed he would repeat his past decisions. He needed to create his own definition of success after this moment. How could he measure achievement when the very industry that validated him cast him aside? Gere decided to create movies which matched his personal values instead of seeking validation from Hollywood. He had to find a way to keep his acting career active while staying true to his ethical beliefs. Gere entered his first professional acting period while his personal development progressed. He gained international recognition through his work, which supported Tibet and human rights causes as he visited refugee camps and worked on projects that most people chose to overlook. The man who once epitomized Hollywood charm became known for his combination of activism and physical attractiveness. Gere developed stronger internal understanding of himself after his public recognition decreased. The sacrifices he made chipped away at the old celebrity image, leaving behind someone far more rooted in purpose, no matter the cost. Even as the pressures of activism reshaped his career, his personal life was evolving in ways equally complex and revealing. Love, marriage, and personal struggles. Richard Gere's personal life during these turbulent years reflected the same tensions that defined his career: a search for connection amidst complexity, and struggles between public expectation and private truth. In 1988, he met Cindy Crawford, a rising supermodel 17 years his junior. Their relationship sparked immediate media fascination, a power couple united not only by fame, but by shared interests in Buddhism and spirituality. The early years of their relationship showed promise as they traveled to India and Nepal together, meditating side by side, seemingly finding solace from Hollywood's chaos. To the outside world, they represented glamour and success, yet beneath the surface, cracks were forming. Differences in age, experience, and focus created subtle but growing rifts, complicating the narrative of a perfect pairing. Cindy described the early phase as one where love made her willing to adapt and mold herself around Richard's spiritual passions. But as she matured, she sought more from the relationship, greater equality and partnership rather than adherence to a singular vision. This evolving dynamic challenged Gere's preference for independence and spiritual devotion over conventional marital expectations. The couple shocked many when, in December 1991, they eloped to Las Vegas in a spontaneous ceremony with aluminum foil rings and dinner at Denny's. What was meant to be a romantic, unorthodox celebration quickly attracted unwelcome tabloid speculation. Rumors swirled about their sexuality and the authenticity of their marriage, culminating in a rare full-page ad in the Times of London defending their union, yet only intensifying public scrutiny. Their marriage lasted just 4 years, ending in separation by the end of 1994. Cindy later admitted to the difficulties in balancing their differing trajectories and the limited time they spent together amid their demanding careers. She reflected on the challenges of finding common ground, revealing that their relationship lacked the friendship and equality she desired. Meanwhile, Gere's personal life also saw moments of renewal. In 2000, at age 50, he met Carrie Lowell, an actress and former Bond girl whose grounded nature contrasted with previous relationships. Their partnership was less about fitting molds and more about mutual respect. The birth of their son Homer marked a profound turning point for Gere, who spoke openly about how fatherhood transformed his understanding of love and priorities. But life remained complicated. Gere and Lowell's marriage eventually ended in divorce after more than a decade, partly due to lifestyle differences and the challenges of reconciling his deep spiritual commitments with family life. Gere's routine of meditation, retreats, and activism placed immense demands on relationships, making him a complex partner to understand and support. Throughout these personal hardships, Gere's resilience showed. He balanced the demands of fatherhood, public life, and activism, often emphasizing presence and compassion despite the dissonance around him. These years underscore the human dimension behind the celebrity facade. The struggles and transitions in Gere's personal life echo the wider story of a man wrestling with identity, love, and purpose amid extraordinary circumstances. Just as his career was transformed by sacrifice, so too was his private world reshaped by seeking authenticity over convention. With both personal and professional changes deeply intertwined, Gere's journey was far from over. Connected to his later embrace of fatherhood, quieter family life, new sources of meaning beyond the spotlight. The crossroads of activism and personal struggle revealed who Gere truly was, but the arrival of fatherhood and family life would soon bring the most profound transformation. Finding family and new purpose. The professional path of Richard Gere, who dedicated his life to social causes and charitable work, reached its peak when he developed a deep personal connection with his family. The actor became a parent for the first time at age 50 with the birth of his son Homer, who was born to actress Carrie Lowell. This milestone changed his perspective profoundly. He spoke openly about how holding his child reshaped his understanding of love and presence. The experience of becoming a father transformed him from a man who spent his life in public view to someone who achieved true stability in his life. The couple married in 2002, and for a period, it appeared that Gere had achieved harmony between his personal life, religious beliefs, and professional commitments. He chose his film roles more carefully, yet he continued to work on projects that matched his artistic vision instead of commercial success. His new family responsibilities brought him a state of tranquility, which he had failed to achieve during his turbulent professional period and his time in the public eye. The couple stayed together for more than 10 years before they ended their marriage through divorce, which showed how hard it is for Gere to balance his spiritual beliefs and his work for social justice with his need to build close relationships. His commitment to meditation, retreats, and social causes made it difficult for partners to maintain their emotional bond because he withdrew from contact with them. Carrie later described her difficulties when she tried to compete against someone who dedicated most of his time to activities outside their home. The experience of becoming a father had a permanent impact on Gere's sense of self. His mornings began with parenting activities instead of scripts and camera calls. He established new objectives because the new standards of achievement required different criteria to measure his success. His best performances became those unscripted interactions with his son during ordinary moments. The bond between Gere and Alejandra Silva developed through their shared principles and their joint appreciation of each other as people. Their relationship developed into a family life, which they kept secret from the media, while they raised Alejandra's son Albert and their two sons, Alexander and James, who were born when Gere reached the ages of 60 and 70. The parents decided to teach their children 2 languages, while they created a home that combined their family life with their political beliefs. Gere moved to Madrid in 2024 because the city provided him a special type of hidden existence which he could not find in American life, since it allowed him to function as a normal husband and father. The new phase of his life showed the main pattern which defined his existence, because he searched for happiness which he could find through love and dedicating himself to important work. Gere achieved better results in his work as an activist and his professional activities and his methods of self-care because he dedicated himself to his family. Although his body became weaker with age, his activities still provided him with energy. Alejandra described him as the most present father she had ever known, someone who fully inhabits the role without distraction. Gere's life presents a different perspective, which refutes traditional Hollywood views about how people attain success through their growing older experience. Fatherhood and family life became his essential mission, which brought him life-altering changes because he no longer wanted to spend time searching for meaning through his public appearances. The evolution from restless star to devoted family man adds complexity and depth to a life marked by hard choices. Yet, even as love and fatherhood brought renewal, tough questions about health and mortality were looming on the horizon. Health scares and facing mortality. At 73, Richard Gere faced one of his most harrowing challenges, a serious bout with pneumonia that forced a confrontation with his own mortality. The illness came at a critical time. He was raising 2 toddlers with Alejandra Silva, and their dependency underscored the stakes in a way few crises could. Hospitalized immediately, Gere endured days battling fever and breathing difficulties, stripped down to the primal instinct to survive. Alejandra stood steadfast by his side, managing the emotional turmoil within the family while tending to their young sons. The gravity of the moment was felt deeply, as Gere later admitted his dominant fear was not about his legacy or career, but simply whether he would live long enough to watch his children grow. This vulnerability revealed a new layer of humility and urgency. Though he recovered fully, those close to Gere observed a subtle but profound shift. More cautious and deliberate, he adjusted his lifestyle with doctor's visits, health screenings, and dietary changes. The man who once performed stunts and learned tap dancing in his 50s now moved with more care, adapting to a body that reminded him of its limits. Friends noticed he conserved his energy, napping when the boys napped and declining late-night events. Fatherhood in later years was emotionally rich but physically demanding, a dynamic Gere embraced without complaint. He spoke candidly about how much more challenging it was to be an older parent, but also how deeply meaningful it had become. The close brush with mortality spurred urgent practical concerns. Estate planning became paramount, not for wealth alone, but to ensure his family would be protected in his absence. His eldest son Homer was stepping into adulthood, but Alexander and James were still very young, unlikely to remember him without the legacy Gere worked to build through letters, recorded stories, and documented traditions. This preparation, both loving and pragmatic, demonstrated Gere's desire to be present in life beyond death. Alejandra remarked on his fear, not of dying itself, but of being forgotten, a profound motivation to leave behind enduring values rather than possessions. His legacy was shifting from celebrity to something far more personal and lasting. Even against this backdrop of vulnerability, Gere continued his activism and public presence, using platforms to speak on global issues. He voiced concerns over rising tribalism and authoritarianism, drawing headlines and eliciting both praise and criticism. His refusing to soften his message underscored a lifelong commitment to courage over convenience. The intersection of health, family, and mortality opened a new chapter in Gere's life, one where the pursuit of presence and purpose outweighed all former ambitions. Legacy beyond Hollywood. Richard Gere's current legacy in the present time extends beyond his Hollywood achievements and box office success because his character values remain his main legacy. The former sex symbol and main actor of his time has developed into a person who values compassion and truth, and family and service at the age of 76. The success of his life proves that true happiness comes from authentic experiences instead of material items and public recognition. Gere maintained his dedication to activism when major studios blacklisted him and China banned him from entering the country. The way he stands by his opinions without compromise shows his strength, because the entertainment sector usually operates according to financial gain and standard practices. Gere demonstrated his talent as an actor through his work in independent films such as Arbitrage, which he used to study complex and flawed characters because he valued artistic satisfaction more than commercial success. His later projects demonstrate a deliberate choice to engage with meaningful stories rather than blockbuster spectacle. By choosing roles that provided him with both complexity and challenge, he successfully avoided participating in projects of self-indulgence. The artist maintained his artistic integrity by using his selective method, which enabled him to create silent artistic renewal that critics identified as his most exceptional artistic achievements. Gere fully dedicates himself to his humanitarian work, which exists as his most important life purpose. He co-founded Tibet House US, which he dedicated to Tibetan freedom advocacy, and he became the leader of the International Campaign for Tibet. His activism includes work on indigenous rights, AIDS awareness, and global human rights, which surpass the typical activities of celebrity activists. This dedication reflects his core belief that privilege carries the responsibility to serve others. His primary personal legacy exists within his family relationships. He has become a father again through his relationship with Alejandra Silva, as they raise their bilingual children in Spain while avoiding Hollywood's public attention. The way Gere chooses to live his life through this formal arrangement demonstrates how he has completely changed his understanding of what brings him happiness. Hollywood provides him with a level of public visibility that Madrid does not, which enables him to exist as nothing more than a husband and father. The financial heritage of Gere creates obstacles to conventional thinking about his financial legacy. He established foundations which provide funding for children's health programs and creative educational initiatives and scholarships which support disadvantaged students instead of transferring his wealth directly to his offspring. The decision shows his wish to use his wealth for creating opportunities which extend beyond his personal advantages because he wants to demonstrate his values through actual charitable work. His physical appearance as an actor who is getting older shows major changes. The perfect sex symbol who achieved fame in early years has vanished because a respectable man now stands before us who shows his age through visible facial marks from his life experience. The way Gere accepts his aging process and death shows that he values actual existence more than public display, which has become his main authentic trait during this period. Richard Gere's journey from Hollywood icon to principled exile teaches us the power of choosing integrity over fame, presence over performance. His story reminds us that true success is deeply personal and rooted in values, family, and courage. If his path moved you, please like and subscribe for more stories that inspire beyond the spotlight.